He is the #2 corner on Mike Mayock's board. When you're talking about just the measurables, who's he look like, who's he compared to in the NFL? When you factor in the weight, it is Parrish Cox. Arm length, Carlos Rogers. Then you go to the vert, Jonathan Joseph. And finally with the 40, Brandon Merriweather. He's an interesting kid. He's an interesting prospect, obviously talented, but also a little troubled. Kicked off of the Washington team at the beginning of November. So you got to weigh in those issues, and we'll get to that in just a second. But as far as on the field of play, what do you see, Daniel Jeremiah, with him?
I see a guy, if you want to roll my comp tape, who reminds me of Janoris Jenkins, both on the field with the way he plays the football game. And Janoris Jenkins had a lot of off-the-field issues as well. And you have to comb through all that stuff as a scout, as a personnel department, as an organization. What's the comfort level taking a player that's extremely talented but comes with that risk off the field? Now, Janoris Jenkins has made a lot of plays for the St. Louis Rams. Turned out to be a good second-round value for a guy that would have been a no-doubt top 15 pick in that draft. I think Janoris Jenkins is a little more polished in coverage than Peters in college. I think Peters, if he was completely clean off the field, would be a top 20, top 25 pick. I think, again, he'll probably land in that second round, Charles, where we saw Janoris Jenkins.
What I liked about Peters the most, and I saw it his sophomore year, as we look at the franchise fits, the Atlanta Falcons obviously need the help. The Redskins, our guy D'Angelo Hall, who worked with us here at the Combine, missed 13 games trying to work his way back. The 49ers, a couple guys entering free agency, and the Eagles. But what I saw out of him was, to me, his ability to position himself very well. I thought he was a very intelligent football player. I saw him make a play in practice. Coach Moosh, route combination, he saw it coming, figured it out ahead of time, put himself right in square in the path of the receiver that was going to end up with the football. And I remember thinking to myself, this is a guy who spends the time. This is a guy who kind of figures this part out. Now, the off the field kind of makes you wonder about that a little bit, but that one play nags in my mind in a positive way about him. I think he's a heck of a football player. As Daniel said, if he's totally clean off the field, I don't think we have any discussion about him. Otherwise, it's just saying he's a first rounder.
This is one of those things that a head coach and or GM have to make decisions about. Every year there will be guys on the draft board that have some character issues. There's some with medical issues, there's some with character issues, and some choose not to deal with them very often. But sooner or later you're going to have a guy that's a little bit more risky than the next guy. And Janoris Jenkins, that is working out. That's a credit to Jeff Fisher and his staff, and it's a credit to Janoris Jenkins for doing a heck of a job and doing things right. I haven't seen this guy, Marcus Peters, like you guys have, so the on-the-field stuff I'm not as familiar with. But off the field, when a college coach kicks off a player off the team, that's usually not one incident. It usually requires a lot of, consternation, because you're talking scholarships, you're talking about a guy's career and the whole thing. So I'd like to know more about this. But every now and then when you have a need at a position, you say, you know what, we've got the veterans on this team that can wrap their arm around the guy. We have a coach that will be in his ear a lot, and we're going to keep this guy on the straight and narrow. Sometimes you'll take a chance on a guy like this, even if it's the second round.
Guys, this is a new NFL a little bit, where guys are getting suspended. It seems like every week almost. It feels like there's some sort of issue that's going on at times.
The penalties for messing up are stricter now.
Well, that's what I'm saying. So now you've got to weigh that in the draft room.
You're darn right. I'm going to take a chance, and this guy's going to be a 6-game suspension first time he screws up, and then it's going to be a full season after that. I may not want to go down that path.
But, Coach, you know this is true. When you're in the draft room and you're talking about character with players, not all positions are weighed equally. The closer you get to the middle of the football field, the more important character is. And that might sound wrong. You say character needs to be important at every position. But you're more forgiving of a receiver or a corner because those aren't leadership positions. You start talking about quarterbacks, centers, middle linebackers, safeties. Those are the communicators on your team. Those are the leaders on your team. And those are more character positions. I know maybe that's not comfortable to say, but they're a little more forgiving with what takes place on the outside.
And they'll do that digging about what exactly it was. Remember, we're talking about suspended during an interim coach before a bowl game. I believe it's for a quarter as they led into the bowl game. Then the next year it's a brand new staff. Sometimes you get kids who are really loyal to the previous staff, and don't show it in the proper way. You know, to them, it's like, well, I did it this way. Why are you changing me? You're changing my techniques. What's going on with that? And sometimes that fit just doesn't work out very well. To his credit, from what I've heard here, I don't know what you guys have heard, he has met it somewhat pretty well head on, saying, if I were Coach Chris Peterson, who took over the program at Washington, and I acted the way I acted, I would have kicked myself off, too. I know I need to make a change and start to move in the proper direction. Let's hope that that is true.
Because the punishments are more severe, would you err on the side of caution these days in the draft?
Absolutely,
you have to, right?
You have to. As an organization, you have to. Because the organization can't afford to have their assets sitting over there on the bench or not even at the stadium. You know, whether they're paying them or not. When you use a draft choice or signing bonus, you've got to be able to count on those guys each week.
Okay, skills-wise, Marcus Peters, where is he? If you're just evaluating strictly on the 120 yards that we play on, including the end zones.
I think you make a case he's the second most talented corner in this draft behind Trey Waynes, just what you see on the tape.
Yep, that's the case that you make for him, but we're talking about second round because of the broader discussion we've had. If that broader discussion's not there, we pencil him in top 20, top 25 and call it a day.
Mooch, we're going to put you back in the coaching seat, not the analyst seat. Would you take a chance?
I would take a chance, but I wouldn't draft him in the top 20 where he is athletically. I would take him in the next round.
Okay, Norris Jenkins, second round, first round talent.
And he's made it. He's made it in the NFL. There's no question about it.